Let me ask you something. What is the riskiest thing you thought about doing, but you've never actually done? Maybe it was starting a business, moving to a new country, or telling someone how you really feel. Now think about why you didn't do it. Was it because it was too risky? Or because it was too unconventional and you were worried what other people would think? Now let me take you back to how this started for me. I grew up in a small town in the Netherlands, a lot of green farmlands, very entrepreneurial when I was young. While my friends were playing video games or hanging out at the pool, I was always thinking about how could I make some money. And so every summer I did things like picking strawberries, plucking beans, planting leeks, whatever it was. I was always thinking about making some extra cash. And I was also a very competitive tennis player. You could find me on the tennis court every day hitting tennis balls. And I was at the top in the Netherlands for most of my youth. And I was also very curious, always asking, what if? Which I think is generally a good trait for kids to have, until it isn't. Like the time when I was about 7 years old, and I asked myself, what if I climbed up on the top of the roof of my school? Well, I found out, I got up there, but didn't expect to land a lot faster. Broke my arm in 2 places, and to this day, my left arm is still slightly crooked. So I suppose it's a gentle reminder of the universe for me not to do anything stupid. But maybe not playing it safe has always been part of me. Now, after a bad breakup with a Dutch girl, well, actually, I'm lying, she dumped me. I did what most 20-something-year-old guys would do when their heart gets smashed. And no, I didn't eat ice cream until I fell sick. And no, I didn't drown me into alcohol either. I did something a lot more extreme. I moved to another country. And that was my first big leap. I went to Cambridge and decided to finish my master's degree there. Joined the Cambridge University Entrepreneur Society, joined a lot of events, organized business plan competitions for students. Things were looking up for me. I met a beautiful Malaysian girl there. And it was also the time when I started my own company, Simugen, a promising biotech startup. We started this with the 4 of us, each coming from different backgrounds and providing different skills to the table. And we had one thing in common. We all wanted to make this business venture a success. Now, I had a dilemma. I was coming to the end of my master's degree and had to start writing a thesis. But I wanted it all. I wanted to finish my degree off well, but at the same time get off to a strong start for my biotech venture. So I had this crazy idea. What if I pitched my professor on writing a business plan for my startup instead of doing the traditional thesis? So I had coffee with him. He asked me some questions. And finally, to my surprise, he agreed. So I went all in. I not just wrote my full business plan, but I also raised £150,000 from investors to start my business. Things couldn't go better for me. Until 2008, when the global financial crisis hit. And I remember watching the news, seeing bankers packing up boxes, leaving the office. Investors pulled away from anything risky. And biotech was not really the safest bet. This is trouble for us. Bad news. We're running out of cash. And we barely survived. And just when things were getting tough, we met this Malaysian venture capital firm who showed an interest in our company. They liked what we were doing and they wanted to invest. So they gave me a term sheet. And amongst all the conditions, one of them was that I had to move the company's headquarters from the UK to Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. Now, I had never lived in Asia. I didn't know anyone in the startup ecosystem there. My entire support system, my family, my friends, they were all in Europe. But something in me whispered, this could be the start of something bigger. So I did what most people advised me against doing. I made the leap again. I left everything behind. All the things that I had, all my support systems were in Europe. I went to Malaysia anyway, and I somehow trusted that the dots would connect later to me. So I swapped the British fish and chips for the Malaysian nasi lemak and fried chicken. And yes, I married the Malaysian girl that I met in Cambridge. And we now have 2 beautiful kids. So that decision, that terrifying leap of faith I took, completely changed the course of my life. Now, people often think of risk as something dangerous. Playing it safe has its own cost. It's just harder to see. If I had played it safe, I'd probably be in a comfortable job in Europe, living a life that looked good on the outside, but always wondering, what if on the inside? I still decided to go to Malaysia. I had no blueprints, no safety nets, just a gut feel that things would be all right. And over time, I've come to learn this. Fear isn't actually our worst enemy, but regret is. Now, Simogen, the company that I started, ultimately failed. We gave it everything, but it didn't make it. And yes, it hurt really badly. And of course, there were those people who were saying, I told you so. But let me tell you one thing. That failure became the soil for everything I've built since. New ventures, new roles, a new version of myself. I stayed on in Malaysia, traveled to Singapore, took on different roles, advising companies, mentoring startups, involving in venture capital, all while figuring out how Southeast Asia works. And slowly, I started to build something new. Eventually, I built Sunway iLabs, an innovation lab that helps students, entrepreneurs, corporate leaders to take smart risks and chase bold ideas. We help aspiring founders to take an idea to market and scale it up. We invest in them and we connect them to Sunway's rich ecosystem so that they can run real-life experiments with their amazing innovations. In a way, I'm helping the next generation of entrepreneurs to take their leap of faith, similar to how I started in Cambridge as a student. But none of that would have happened if I hadn't made that first leap. And sometimes things don't pan out the way you expect them to. In fact, sometimes the things that don't work out make space for the things that do. People always ask me, aren't you afraid of failing? Yes, of course I am. But I'm more afraid of standing still. Because the cost of playing it safe isn't just missed opportunities, missed growth, and missed life. The opportunity cost is real, even if we don't see it. And it's not just about individuals. In innovation, the biggest risk is inaction. Waiting until your product is perfect, or ignoring a bold idea because it feels uncomfortable, or prioritizing predictability over progress. I've seen big companies go down because they chose caution over courage. The world is moving on, whether you are or not, and playing it safe is no longer safe. Take artificial intelligence. Are we going to sit on the sidelines and watch that technology disrupt everything? Or are we going to embrace it, take a risk, and shape its future? AI is already helping us make breakthroughs that were unthinkable a decade ago. In healthcare, for example, it's helping doctors detect cancers earlier. It's helping to personalize treatments. And it even helps to develop new drugs for diseases that are currently not curable. And this isn't just a job for techies. No, AI is a basic skill, like writing an email or working with a spreadsheet. Recently, I was in Silicon Valley, and I met these bright Sunway University graduates who told me that he has seen talented people having to leave their jobs because they were too slow to adopt AI. And yes, it's uncomfortable. Yes, it's new, but this is where courage matters. Now, I've come to learn that courage isn't something that you have or you don't have. It's more like a muscle. Remember the first time when you spoke up in a meeting? It was scary. The second time, less scary. And by the 10th time, it becomes something that is part of you. Every leap that you take strengthens your ability to take the next one. Now, I often tell my son Alex, who's really into football, that it doesn't matter whether he wins or loses his matches. What matters is that he tries something new with courage. A new trick he learns in training. A new move, a skill, or a bold pass. It doesn't matter if it doesn't work. But just like in football, you don't score by playing it safe. Sometimes you've got to take a shot. Now, not long ago, I lost my mom. And in the last days, although she was very sick, she never complained. She had that unique outlook online, something that I'll carry with me forever. She often said, the sun is shining the whole day. Not just on a sunny day, or when things were going well, but even when life was hard. Now, my mom wasn't rich or famous. She didn't have a big platform. But in how she lives, with courage, with joy, with presence, told me more than any book or business course ever could. She reminded me to enjoy every single day. She said, have fun in the things you do. Have faith in what you believe. And take a chance when you get it. Now, on the final day on earth, something remarkable happened. Out of an act of kindness, the doctors helped move her to the hospital and to the room where my dad was admitted, because he had undergone a surgery just the day before. That hospital was about 20 to 30 kilometers away from where my mom was admitted. So they arranged an ambulance, got her to the same room as my dad. That was a leap of compassion. The doctors didn't have to do that. It wasn't part of their job description, but they did it anyway. And it gave us a final few hours together as a family. And this is a picture of that day. And I'm not showing this out of sadness, but really to honor her memory and her words. Because if you strip away all the noise, all the fears, all the what ifs, life really comes down to this. Seize the day. Take the leap. And don't let the cost of playing it safe be the story that you leave behind. So let me ask you this question. What leap are you holding back from? Because maybe, just maybe, the risk that you are afraid to take is the one that sets you free. Thank you.